Hey, how are you doing? Rob here, and it's Tuesday, so I thought I would share some anecdotes from life with you, and I hope you're well. Thank you for joining me. I was down in Glastonbury to perform some music, and I arrived a day early so that it just made everything easier. So that evening, I'd made my way to the George and Pilgrim pub for a bite to eat and a drink, and it turned out to be quite a random night. The first oddity was meeting members of another band who were also booked, except they weren't, at least not that year. Their booking was for the following year, and they turned up a whole 12 months early. The thing that amused me was they just couldn't get their heads around how anyone could be that organised with an event to have somebody booked already a year in advance. After chatting to them for a while, they introduced me to a gentleman who was a professor at a university. I'm not going to say which one in case he's still there, although this is some years ago. After chatting with him for a while, he leaned in and confided with me, I can still picture it by the bar, that he was the head of a Ninja Druid defense team. And they were getting ready for a retreat I was once involved in. I had to make sure everything we needed was prepared. You know, you've got to make sure, because I had to travel a long way, that had everything I needed. And you see, one of the things I used to do was create fire labyrinth workshops for people. And time would be spent in spiritual preparation, exploring a theme. There'd be a meditational aspect. And then as the sun set, a giant labyrinth was created using several bales of wood shavings and 80 gallons of paraffin. And the paramaniacs of you out there are going, oh, that's great. Well, they were used to make this experience happen. Anyway, once it was ignited, it used to glow up and be amazing. And as it settled, it would create a pathway for people to walk around the labyrinth in meditation into the center like a pilgrimage. And at the very center, there was a space to just be still in before leaving through a different pathway. So we didn't have people walking to and fro in the same opposite directions. And it was, I think, the third year we'd run it for this particular event. And the wind it was a little gustier than we'd normally do, but we decided it would be okay to go ahead. And all was going really well when I was at the very first festival I ever attended, and I'd been walking around all day, listening to some great folk music and meeting some really fascinating people, some very talented musicians, and just curious souls. And none more so than Nick, because he's the only one whose name I remember after all these years. On the first encounter I met him, he was sat dressed rather alternatively, perched up on a boulder in a field, and over his ear was a pipe cleaner coming around his face, around to his mouth, a little bit like a headset microphone. So I was curious, so I approached him and I said, asked him what he was doing, and he was like, shh. He said, I'm broadcasting. And I looked around, I was a bit like, okay, who are you broadcasting for? And he returned perfectly seriously and said, I'm the sole representative of Gnome Radio, and I'm broadcasting. Would you like to be interviewed? I just thought, why not? Why not go along with this? Sometimes, you have to step into that space and meet people where they are. So I was like, yeah, okay. Why not? And so he turned to me and he said, if you really listen, you can always hear the broadcast. It's not out there somewhere. It's here, right now. And as he said it, there was a pause, the kind of pause that makes you suddenly aware of the air on your skin and the sounds behind the sounds, the way the ground hums beneath your feet. You don't need to strain for it. You don't need to chase after it. Presence is already here. And as you notice, you may find yourself breathing a little deeper, feeling the space around you differently, settling into the moment just as it is. Because he said, presence has a way of reminding you. You don't need to be anywhere else. You're already here, already enough. Already a part of all this. I continued to chat with Nick for a while, and then went on my way, and I saw him several more times before the end of the weekend. He was a great guy, and he even more so. Anyone that recommends books is always awesome in my life, and he recommended some great books. One of which I still have on a shelf somewhere over there. So I still have a copy of that sat around. The fires of the labyrinth were lit, but the gusty wind affected the way the paraffin burned, and instead of a nice clean burn, the field, the campsite, and everyone there disappeared behind a mass of black smoke. It did settle down, but after that, I decided, probably for environmental reasons more than anything else, that it would be the last of the labyrinths. Because, said the professor, it was important to protect the followers of the ancient ways. His ninja druids were training to defend people against the next wave of witch trials, to stealthily leap from the shadows wherever needed. Well, I never judge people, but I do sometimes wonder how they get to the places they get in life, and it makes the world a beautiful place, does it not? Even more so, I wonder whatever happened to that Ninja Druid army. Guess I'll never know. If you've enjoyed this, you can help Caim. Continue by subscribing, clicking the bell, visiting the blog, or supporting on Ko-fi. It all helps us keep creating and sharing these moments and the growing content with you. For now, may you know laughter on your lips, warmth in your heart, and light upon your path. Until next time, much love and every blessing. Take care.